show lined up for you today. We're very excited to speak with Wes Moss, author of You Can Retire Sooner and Happier Than You Think. If you think you need to win the lottery or work until you're 75 to retire with financial stability, Money Matters host Wes Moss has very good news for you. After conducting an intensive study of happy retirees to learn the financial practices they hold in common, Moss discovered that it doesn't take financial genius, millions of dollars, or sophisticated investment skills to ensure a safe, solid retirement. Stay tuned to hear Wes reveal the secrets for ensuring a successful retirement from his newest book, You Can Retire Sooner Than You Think. A little bit about me again. Your host, Justin Fort. Who am I? I'm a graduate from the University of Texas McComb School of Business, degree in finance. I'm a certified financial planner professional, a chartered financial consultant, and a retirement income certified professional. I'm the owner and president of Fort Wealth Management. We specialize in working with people in the Austin area, helping them with their retirement needs, planning needs there, as well as estate planning and legacy planning. So that's what we do. And this last week, we had the opportunity to actually go to a conference where we were able to visit with a lot of other financial professionals from across the country. And it's always a great opportunity to learn new strategies, techniques, things that are important. And something that stuck with me, we can always learn more. There's always something else out there that we may be missing. We need to keep our eyes open and our ears open so that we can be attentive to those things. And at this conference, there was a female professional who works with individuals in South Carolina, and she made a good point, stuck in my mind. She was talking about long-term care. And often when people come into my office, I ask them, do you have a plan for long-term care? And often, with a kind of a look in their eyes like they forgot their homework, they kind of look at me and say, well, not really. So no insurance, nothing like that. Well, no one really wants to pay for insurance if they feel like they're not going to use it. No one wants to go to a long-term care facility. But there is a big risk, and it's something that we can't ignore. And this financial planner in South Carolina, she said, if you're not allocating some of your resources for a plan or towards a plan to take care of your long-term care risk for you and your spouse to protect your family, then really what you're doing is you're allocating all of your resources to long-term care. And that statement stuck with me and reminded me again of how valuable it is for me in what I do to meet with and discuss financial planning practices, goals, concerns with other professionals in the industry, so that I can stay at the top of my game, and then I can bring that to my clients and help them retire better with better security and knowing that they're doing the right thing with appropriate planning. So that's what we're going to have an opportunity to do a little bit on the radio today, and you're going to get to listen in with me speaking to Wes Moss, who's a certified financial planner professional, and we're going to be discussing some of these issues. We're going to be talking about Wes Moss's book, You Can Retire Sooner and Happier Than You Think. And Jennifer, can you give a brief description of Wes?
Yeah, definitely. He is listed by Barron's as one of the top investment advisors in the country in 2014 and 2015. Wes Moss hosts the Money Matters show on WSB Radio in Atlanta. He is a personal finance editor for About.com. Wes is a frequent guest on CNN, Fox News, and CNBC. He earned his degree in economics from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and was on the second season of The Apprentice with Donald Trump.
Wow! So we're gonna have someone famous on this show today. We're pretty excited to have Wes. Mm-hmm. We're gonna go to a break first, though, and we're very excited to hear what Wes has to say. And you're gonna want to stay tuned to hear about those secrets and how you don't have to win the lottery or work until you're 75 to retire sooner and happier than you think. This is Justin Fort with The Retirement Journey, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. And this is Talk 1370. Talk 1370, you're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. I'm Justin, and I'm here in studio with my sidekick, Jennifer.
Hello.
And you can call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us emails, comments, questions to ask@fortwm.com, and we really will get back to you. So we're excited to see that. We will have Wes Moss. We spoke a little bit about his new book, You Can Retire Sooner and Happier Than You Think. You don't have to work until you're 75 to retire with financial stability or win the lottery. So that's good news. Wes Moss has a lot of accolades. He's a certified financial planner professional, and I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Moss.
Justin and Jennifer, thanks for having me.
Hey, Wes. How you doing? Good to have you.
Good.
Thanks for being on the show.
Good. Austin sounds like such an exciting town. It's. I've only been there one time, but it's. I always hear so many things that are going on in Austin, the technology community, South by Southwest. It just seems like such a great place to live, raise a family, start a business, and so I'm slightly jealous.
Well, you'll have to come and visit. We'd love to have you. No, Austin is great. My family loves it here. We've been here for years. There's just a lot of things to do in Austin, and if you're bored in Austin, it's probably your fault. That's the way we see it. Yeah, from the music to the opportunity, it's a great standard of living. So it's a wonderful place. So we love it, and we love the community here. So welcome anytime you want to come. So.
Well, listen, thanks for having me on the show, and this is always a lot of fun to talk with professionals like you guys about. We're obviously in a similar vein, and you're right. It really is fun to share kind of the best practices or what we're all learning. Were you over in Scottsdale? Were you at the Barron's conference?
We were actually in Charlotte.
You were in
North
Charlotte.
Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's my neck of the woods. Charlotte is my neck of the woods.
Well, there you go. We're just bypassing each other on the plane, probably. No, I actually had the opportunity to listen to some of your radio shows, podcasts from your Money Matters show, and I was quite impressed. You're very good, and I love the content, the material you provide. So I'm definitely excited to be able to speak with you today and have our listeners hear what we have to say to each other. And I think all too often people come, I'm sure this happens with you as well, people come into my office and they say, I've been to 4 or 5 other people, and they're all telling me different things. This guy's saying, do that. This person's saying, never do that. How do I keep this stuff straight, right? And what really should I be doing? I'm just getting all these mixed signals. So today we'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit about some of your research in your book, and I'm excited to hear some of those secrets if you're willing to share some of those. Hopefully, maybe you can share some of those secrets with us on the air. But could you start?
Absolutely.
Could you start with giving us a little background on what got you started, and why why you got into the financial planning business?
Well, it's one of those things where very early on, it's something I wanted to do, and when I went to school. I went to University of North Carolina, and I majored in economics. And during my junior year, I was able to do an internship in financial planning, and it was the old Prudential base, or what was Prudential, then Wachovia. It's been rolled up 37 different times, and it stuck with me, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. And it's just been, so I've been doing it basically. I knew I was going to be doing it, and I just did. And it's been almost 20 years if I go all the way back to the college days of when I kind of started really thinking about this as a career, and really been doing it ever since. The thought of being able to publish and write pretty extensively and I have a registered an RIA, or registered investment advisory firm And we also started a digital advisory firm, which I know that you've probably heard lots of that,
right,
with Betterment and Wealthfront and all the robo wars about who's going to win or lose. But it's really just an exciting industry to be able to be part of, and the impact that it really has. And really, it's been the last few years that I've been in the business. It's such a marathon, you know, that it's really fun to see some of the fruits of those earlier years actually start to come to fruition. And that is partially why, or that was the partial impetus for the study behind the book, is people being able to, how do you retire early? How do you retire happy? And that was the genesis to this whole project that took me about 2 years to do. Right.
And I think, you know, as planners, you're talking about, you know, how the fruits of your labor from the past have kind of brought you to this position. And, you know, we can plan all we want, but often life throws us curveballs, and we don't know what we don't know until we learn it. And as we move along in life, even as planners, we make our adjustments, and then we look back and we can assess the road that we've traveled, and continue to make good decisions and best decisions that we can do, learning and growing each and every day, every year, and hope that that's gonna lead us to where we want to be.
Well, and that's part of the point with this book. I've done 2 books in the past. One was about entrepreneurship back in 2006, so that's been almost 10 years. I guess I probably wrote it 2005, 2006. And then I did another book a couple years later as a follow-up that was called Make More, Worry Less. And unfortunately, the timing was so terrible on it. It came out right as the financial crisis was starting in 2007, and it was a time where people were really the opposite of my book. They were literally making less and worrying more. So it just didn't sell, didn't take off, and so I vowed never to do a book again because it's so much work. If it doesn't sell and it doesn't do well, you feel like you just invested so much time.
And you put your heart and soul into it.
Yeah, for nothing. And
right.
So it took me a long time before I wanted to do another book, and I didn't do it until what I thought, there's so many retirement books out there, as you know.
Yeah.
It's just there's plenty of people that have written retirement books, investing books, finance. And I didn't want to do a book until I thought I had some very unique angle or take on it. And I really didn't do this project until that idea came to me, one morning while I was shaving, thinking, well, this really might work.
Yeah, aren't some of the best ideas? Don't those come in the bathroom? Seems like right? I come out of the bathroom.
That's the only place they come.
I come out of the bathroom. I said, "Guess what?" I tell my wife, "I just had the best idea ever," and I wasn't on the computer.
Somebody needs to do some sort of empirical study. I'm telling you, if you ask 100 guys, 95 of them will say, "My best ideas come while I'm shaving."
Right.
Something in the bathroom. I don't know what it is, but It's a very warmly creative space.
Right. I haven't taken my conference room in the office and moved it to the restroom yet, so I don't know how that'd play over. Anyways, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. I'm Justin. You can call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us comments, emails, questions to ask@fortwm.com. If you have a question for Wes, feel free to send that as well. And we have Wes Moss, author of You Can Retire Sooner and Happier Than You Think. He's a certified financial planner professional and works with individuals as an investment advisor representative through a registered investment advisory. And we're talking about, Wes, I have to ask you before we get back into the book, what was it like being on The Apprentice with Donald Trump? That's pretty cool.
It was scary. It was that's the best way to describe it. And it was back in 2004. So it's been obviously over a decade since. It was the very, very beginning of the whole thing. It was the first year, second season. So I'd already watched the first one, and way back then it was a pretty popular show before it got kind of watered down with a bunch of crazy celebrities. It was just normal kids like me at the time I was still in my 20s and had been in the investment business for 5 or I guess probably 6 years. So I had a lot to lose. And I remember the first day being in the same room with Trump with his makeup all over his face and 100 cameras. It was just scary. That's really, I can just tell you, I was so nervous, and I stayed nervous the entire time.
Yeah, was it pretty cutthroat? Was it like it looked on TV?
Terrible. Yeah, it is. And it really was fun, and I'm glad. Wonderful experience. Glad I did it. But it's like it's like playing with fire, being on a reality show. It's way worse today than it was 10, 11 years ago. So I was there at a decent time, and I learned an awful lot. But the problem is you're competing to stay alive week to week. And the balance of trying to be a decent human being and a nice guy, which is a huge part of our profession, is being a good person, but then having to throw people under the bus to get rid of them so you don't have to go.
Right.
It's an incredibly difficult balance. It's one that I never want to do again.
Oh, right. And what we do, we have to be so judicious about what we do. The pros and the cons and the maybes, that could work possibly. And we don't want to throw out recommendations to people, and we don't want to beat up any particular type of product or investment because it might be good for someone, but then you're in this situation where you've got to kind of throw people under the bus in your words. So, so very interesting.
Indecision does not work with Donald Trump.
So I take it you didn't win, and who won that?
I did not win, but I really was there to try to not embarrass myself and survive an extended period of time, and I did. I was there until I was there 11, or I guess it was 12 TV weeks or 11 TV weeks, which that was plenty for me. And I was able to really feel like...
We think you're a winner, Wes.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you, guys.
You win for going on, right? So, well, back on track really quick before we end up going to break. Why did you write this book, this You Can Retire Sooner and Happier Than You Think book?
Well, I had the idea come to me shaving, number one, like all of us.
Good reason.
B, I really felt as though this approach to money was unique, or still is unique, and that's part of the reason this book continues to sell. And it's been almost a year since I put this out, and it still has a lot of momentum. Because I did this survey. I had the idea to not approach a retirement book from an investment perspective, but approach it from a happiness perspective. Similar to how Thomas Stanley in The Millionaire Next Door had the habits of millionaires, my angle here was go out, survey enough people so it's statistically significant, which I did, 1,350 people, 46 different states around the country. Took about a month to collect the data. And I asked for behavioral questions.
So did you have to go door to door to do that? Did you?
That would have taken a little longer than a month, but right. Like the U.S. Census. But right. So I was able to collect all this data, and then through a series of happiness questions, categorize the happiest 2 quintiles and compare them to the least happy 2 quintiles. And then the results between how people spend their money, how they operate within a mortgage or get rid of a mortgage, where they shop, where they eat, what they drive, all of those. And then, of course, some of the serious financial questions: how much have you saved? How many income sources do you have? There was a fascinating comparison between these 2 data sets, and that's what made the book, and now that it's been out for long enough, or a while, that's what makes it different, is that I'm comparing the financial habits of happy people and unhappy people, and the happy group were the ones that were able to retire on average sooner. And that's really an important message.
Yeah, who doesn't want to know that? Everybody, I think, wants to know, how do I have happiness, and well, does money buy happiness, right? That's another question. How much do I need to have to be happy? Is there another way? And what am I really working for? What am I really doing? And so I think, Wes, you're going to be able to help us out with some of that research that you've done. We're going to take a break, and we're going to get to back with Wes Moss here in a minute, so that he can share some of those secrets that he learned by canvassing individuals and finding out the differences between happy and unhappy retirees, what made those differences. You can call us at 512-390-1370 or send us questions, comments to ask@fortwm.com. This is Justin. The show is Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. This is Talk 1370.
Down on the corner, out in the street, playing the folk boys are playing.
Talk 1370. You're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. Call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us questions, comments to ask@fortwm.com. You know, if you're thinking that you need to win the lottery or work until you're 75 to retire with financial stability, well, Money Matters host Wes Moss has very good news for you. And we're back with Wes Moss, certified financial planner professional and author of You Can Retire Sooner and Happier Than You Think. We're excited to be back with Wes. So, Wes, jumping right back in, I want to just go ahead and ask you a little bit about that survey. Does money buy happiness, and for how much?
Well, that's what I wanted to try to figure out, Justin. And again, this is an age-old question that will be debated forever. There's no exact answer here, but here's my answer to that question. Number one, so again, I to some extent I sought that out. So I surveyed 1,350 people, 46 different states, figured out all their financial consumer habits. I even asked how many kids do people have, your core pursuits, your habits in life. And then, of course, some of the money questions. How much do you have liquid savings, retirement savings? Do you own your house? Do you rent? And if you own your house, how many years left on the mortgage? And here's what I found. The answer to the question, does money buy happiness? The answer is yes. It absolutely does, but only to a certain point or level or checkpoint. And that checkpoint is a lot more attainable from my research than I think most Americans think. So Wall Street tells all of us through their marketing that to some extent you really can't ever have too much.
Yeah, so a million's not enough, right? You need three.
Yeah, and I saw an article just the other day on CNBC that said you needed $2.5 million. So, and I've heard we've all heard that. Oh, you need at least $1 million, and then that was 15 years ago. And then you see an article today. Listen, $1 million isn't what it used to be 10 or 15 years ago. So now you need you need 2.5. And there's this constant drum that says you just need more, and you need more. And when can you retire? Well, you should keep working and keep working and keep working. And that's true because you really can't ever have too much if you're worried about running out of money. But there's a balance. There's got to be some balance. Most people can't retire at 40, but I'd like to believe that people in America don't need to work till 75 or 80.
Right? Isn't that our job? Right? I mean, as a planner, people don't come to you or us so that we can say, you know what, the plan is you keep working. Right. That doesn't make any sense, right? People want to know, hey, when can I retire? You're the professional, right? Right.
So that's what I do feel as though I answer that in the book, at least in my way, which is money buys happiness up to a certain point. And that point, there's a real inflection point when it comes to the liquid net worth question. So I effectively categorize the least happy group, and then the next happiest, and it goes up in a continuum into quintiles. So the bottom two quintiles and then the top two quintiles, and then if you chart out a net worth chart of unhappy to happy, what you'll find in a lot of the different data sets, not just liquid money but also spending and income, is that there's a real plateau effect. So that so money in the beginning buys a lot more happiness, meaning that you go from making $30,000 a year to $80,000 a year, which is a $50,000 jump, I see a huge jump in the level of happiness. But then you get to, but imagine if you're making, and this is an extreme example, you're making $1 million a year, and then you jump to $2 million. There's almost no incremental happiness because you've already kind of hit a certain level that lets you do what you want to do in life. So the inflection point that I found where the happiness levels start to kind of level off or plateau is $500,000. That's the number. That's the median number that I find where you start to you start to get into the happiest two quintiles.
And you're talking about 500,000 in retirement assets, or you're talking about 500,000 retirement assets plus emergency savings plus gold bullion or CDs at the bank. What?
Sure. So everything liquid. So it doesn't include any sort of real estate or property. It's not a net worth number. It was just a liquid money, IRAs, 401ks, cash accounts, everything combined that you could turn into either more income over time or use to live.
Right, and that's kind of the comfort level, at least, is what you're kind of bringing to light. That if they're not hitting those levels, they're probably nervous about something. Maybe they're a little stressed, and so that retirement's not going to be as happy because they don't have kind of that mean or median number that you're talking about.
Right, and certainly I get some pushback, and that's part of this book where there's a camp that says, hey, you're crazy, money doesn't buy happiness. I know plenty of people that have lots of money and they're unhappy, and I don't discount that, and I actually talk about that in the book. There's the John Paul Getty story where he was one of the richest people in America. His grandson was kidnapped, and he just wouldn't pay the ransom because he didn't want to spend the money. And it was until they cut off his grandson's ear and mailed it to him in the mail did he finally cough up the ransom, but only to the maximum tax deductible amount allowed by the IRS at the time.
Wow, that's pretty cold-hearted.
Yeah, think of this, obviously, what today would be a billionaire. This is a long time ago. Think about his popularity at Thanksgiving time.
Yeah, Scrooge. This sounds like Scrooge, right?
Real-life Scrooge.
Yeah, he needs to have a couple of ghosts visit him. Well, it's true. And, I know your background, you have a degree in economics. When you look at what economists say regarding, utility is another way to maybe say, interchangeably textbook, for happiness. What's the utility of an additional ice cream cone? What's in the utility of an additional car? Do you have to have the bigger house? How much more happiness does that derive? And at some point, just like you're saying, any house is a big upgrade from no house, but a bigger house, is that as much of an upgrade as going from no house to a house or no car to a car? No, right? So that's where what you're talking about is that plateau. And that's good, I think.
Yes, you're exactly right. So I even say, it's funny you bring that up as with your econ background or finance, and I call it, in the book, I even refer to it, diminishing marginal happiness.
Right.
Per new dollar.
Right. What are we trying to chase? Why? As a planner, I know you know this, and this is what you do with your clients. I'd imagine when people come in and say, hey, you know what, I think this is what I should be doing. Is that what I should be doing? And you kind of look at, maybe they push a statement over, to you and say, did I get that one right? And you think, well, okay, I kind of need to ask you some questions like, what are you trying to do? What's that money for, right? What are your priorities? What are your priorities? Are your priorities family? Are your priorities your standard of living? Or is your priority just to see how big this number on this statement can get? Are you wanting to spend this money in your lifetime? Do you feel like you're going to, what is your goal, right? And as a planner, if we don't have someone telling us what they want, if they don't know what they want, how can we really tell them what they should be doing?
And you're exactly right. You bring up a great point, and your point you're making really is about the unique fingerprint that we all have financially. The other thing, Justin, that I found in the book that was it's a really interesting chart that knocked me really was fascinating to me when once I finally charted out all the data is that another really important benchmark to get to. So it's not just the 500 or just any one thing. It's really a combination of, I have 18 quote unquote secrets. They're really, these are happiness traits and versus unhappy traits, but there are 18 characteristics in the book. One that's another really important one that has to do with a mortgage. And I chart this out in the book. Years to pay mortgage, as the number of years remaining goes down to pay off your mortgage. So again, 12, 11, 10, 9 years left. Happiness goes up. It's a completely inverse relationship. And that makes a lot of sense because those that have less and less years left before they're debt-free from a mortgage, they see the light at the end of the tunnel of not having that huge bill to pay every month is there's a lot of comfort and, to your point, utility in that. So it's a lot of different things put together that make these happy retirees have financial freedom relative to those that are unhappy. But the mortgage data was really fascinating in the book.
Well, listen, Wes, we've got to go to a quick break, but when we get back, I want you to, if you would, share just a couple more secrets and then how we can get our hands on your book. So
Great.
We'll be right back. I'm Justin, Retirement Journey, Talk 1370.
I've been down before, riding along on this big old jet plane. I've been thinking about my home.
Hi, this is Jennifer Carter, Justin's sidekick here on the show. During the week, I'm his executive assistant at Fort Wealth Management, where we spend our time helping good people like you plan for the retirement you deserve. Most of those plans include Social Security, and most of the people we see don't realize that there are hundreds of ways to take their Social Security benefits. That's why we do group classes, where we explain the basic options and how to optimize these amazing benefits. The thing is, you need to get the knowledge before you start taking benefits, because once you start, it can be difficult or even impossible to go back and change what you've selected. Would you like to be in one of our classes? Call our RSVP line at 1-800-769-1614 and we'll get you on the list for a time that's convenient for you. Here's the number again, 1-800-769-1614.
Talk 1370. You're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. Call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us emails, questions, and comments to ask@fortwm.com. We were just speaking with Wes Moss, certified financial planner professional and author of You Can Retire Sooner and Happier Than You Think. And I think the happier part is probably more important. Wes, before we were interrupted by the break, you were going to you promised to give us a couple of more secrets from your book, and would you mind doing that right now?
Sure, absolutely. I love it. I love talking about this book, and I try to give away as many as I can, whether people buy the book or not. But and I even have a question. There's about a 30-second happiness questionnaire that I developed on my website, which is just it's just wesmoss.com, WESMOSS.com, and obviously it has info. It's about the book, but so number one, there's a real importance on hitting these certain financial benchmarks. One of them is getting at least 500,000. The median number of the happiest two quintiles is about 880,000. So that's obviously, those numbers are important. Getting rid of the mortgage by a retirement age or having the mortgage payoff in sight, super important. The other thought here is that I'll give you two other quick, really core overarching items rather than cars, because, by the way, happy retirees drive Lexuses, not BMWs, for some completely strange reason. I have this whole talk about the happy cars for happy retirees versus cars for unhappy retirees, but which is a lot of fun, I think, in the book. But very quickly, Justin, the thought about what I call core pursuits. One of the really important questions I asked in my survey out of about 35 questions I said, how many hobbies on steroids? Not just, hey, I kind of like to go on walks, or I kind of like to, I like to watch my favorite TV show. I wanted not just a hobby, but a hobby on steroids that is a core pursuit. So, meaning
I've never heard anyone say hobby on steroids, so that's a good way to put it, right?
I mean, think of it this way.
It's creative, Wes.
I'm not a huge. I mean, I like golf. I'm not a huge golfer, so I wouldn't. Right now in my life, with 3 little kids and 2 businesses and books and everything, I don't have as much time to play golf. So it's just a hobby. I'll play it maybe once every 2 months. But for the golfers that I know that it's their core, it's one of their core pursuits in life. They don't play once or twice. They don't play once or twice a year. They play once or twice a week, or their trips are revolved around golf. Their buddies are all golf. So it's about something that you have this really significant drive to do, and that could be. And again, I list the happy retiree hobbies and the unhappy group, but many of the happy group hobbies are activity-based or outside or something that is slightly athletic, biking, hiking, running, you name it. But the thought of having now here's what was kind of cool about the data, and I had this data verified by the math department down at Georgia Tech, which is right next door to me here in Atlanta, to do this statistical significance and really get to make sure this data is valid. Happy retirees have 3.6 on average core pursuits. The unhappy group only has less than 2. So 1.9 for the unhappy group, 3.6 core pursuits, things that you're running towards. I'm saving all this money up because these are the things I really can't wait to be able to do more of. And that was a really significant theme throughout this book, are the importance of core pursuits.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are worried sometimes about how much they're going to be able to do in retirement. Are they going to have a life? They've been working 30, 35 years somewhere. They've got their friends there. It's their community. It's almost like an identity. So, there is a fear of retirement in some cases. So what you're basically illustrating is those hobbies on steroids. If someone has a hobby already that could be, increased in retirement that they're passionate for, that might be a good way for them to envision their retirement and maybe grab onto that, so they can be healthier and happier in that.
Absolutely.
So Wes, can you tell us how we might get a hold of your book?
I would love to. Thank you for the shameless plug. And I know, so the easiest way to find the book is just my website. There's a big picture of the book on the cover. You can retire sooner than you think, the 5 money secrets of the happiest retirees. And it's just wesmoss.com. The website is just WESMOSS.com. And there's a real quick but informative happiness questionnaire you can do, and it'll give you a lot of the 18 traits of the happy versus the unhappy. So I hope people. There's also a video right on wesmoss.com of the book. So I hope it's helpful to people, and I hope that if people that read it, Justin, you obviously understand it, so I'm sure that you can help people in Austin that buy the book that are close by, and I really appreciate you letting me discuss it because it's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's been a really wonderful experience.
Well, Wes, you're an amazing man, and juggling life, family, I know how that can be. I've got 2 little ones of my own, so a lot of stuff going on in life. We want to give and provide, and thank you very much for doing that, writing the book, being on the show. As planners, we want our clients and the communities to be as well off as they can be, so they can have happy, healthy retirements with the freedom that they deserve. And any final thoughts, Wes, before we say goodbye?
Well, you brought up a great point about utility, and money certainly buys happiness from my research, but only to a certain point. So it's kind of this diminishing marginal happiness. And that's what I think I'm trying to help people to do. And as you mentioned as well, and what you do in your practice is find a balance. It's getting to a happy medium between working forever. It's one way to never run out of money until you work till you die, or go too early and then run the risk of running out. We're trying to help people get to that happy medium point that's so critical. So,
yeah. So that's great advice, Wes, and words of wisdom. And we would love for you to come back on the show, Wes. Maybe another future time. I'm pretty sure that we could probably fill hours and hours talking together about things that could benefit our clients and what we're learning. So thank you very much again, Wes, and we will be in touch.
Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Jennifer, that was great.
Yes, it was.
Wes is an interesting man.
He is.
Very motivated and hardworking. So those words of wisdom ring true. Now, this is the section where we are going to be talking about things in the media, some hot topics. I've got some articles here. Jennifer, do you have an article?
Yeah, I do. There's one from AARP. President proposes rule to protect worker savings. This was actually posted on February the 23rd, 2015, this year. It states the president wants brokers and other professionals to be required to act in an investor's best interest instead of their own when dispensing advice on retirement accounts. Well,
that sounds good, and I think for a lot of folks that should already be the case, but apparently it's not. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else there that...
Yeah, proposed rule by the Labor Department would dramatically alter 40-year-old regulations. Eliminating conflicts of interest by those giving retirement advice could prevent investors from losing as much as $17 million a year that now goes to advisors and their firms in the form of backdoor payments and hidden fees, the White House said in a report released today.
Wow. Well, so this was, looks like this was February 23rd, 2015 at the AARP conference. Definitely changes, right? Possibly coming down from the top, going to affect our industry. And, obviously the way we've decided to set up our practice, the way I decided to set up my practice, was from a fiduciary standpoint. Our clients' interests are always ahead of our own. We have that duty from a legal standpoint because we are an investment advisor representatives, and we hold that license. And we also, as a certified financial planner professional, I've agreed personally to put my clients' interests ahead of my own. So when there's an investment option, a recommendation, a product, the cons and the pros have to be, provided to the client, and an overall plan has to be developed in their best interest. So, if you're listening and you don't have a plan, or you're working with someone that you're not quite sure if their interests are your interests, you can ask. That's a good first step. If there is a fiduciary standard and they have that, then I'm sure they're going to explain that to you. And if they don't, you can ask them if they have that fiduciary standard. Do they have that duty to you? Not that if they don't, that doesn't mean that they don't care about you, and that doesn't mean that they couldn't still do a good job. It's just good to know who you're working with and who you're dealing with when you're talking about your retirement, your family's livelihood, and the legacy that hopefully you'll be able to leave behind to your children and grandchildren. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna go to a break, and then I've got a couple of articles here that we're gonna go over, talking about market timing. Does it make sense? Does it work? What are the statistics showing us? And you are listening to Talk 1370. This is Justin Fort with Retirement Journey. We'll see you back.
Let the good times roll.
Talk 1370. You're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. We're back. Call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us emails, comments, questions to ask@fortwm.com. We don't have a lot of time left, but just did want to touch on this topic of market timing and what that could mean for you and your family. This is an article from Paul Merriman, MarketWatch.com, October 23rd, 2013. And he says, which I know you can agree with, that you probably don't like losing money, yet you'll do just about half the time when you follow a trending timing system. You especially don't like losing money time after time, but you'll often have multiple losing trades in succession before timing produces a profit. You hate more than likely to be wrong and have it rubbed in your face. But often a timing system can tell you to sell a fund at a certain price and then buy it back at a higher price. Even though this is normal, it makes timing seem insane, producing losses instead of preventing them. Another article that really makes this point, the statistics related to what the average investor actually how the average investor actually performs. This comes from the wallstreetdaily.com, entitled The Main Reasons Why Investors Underperform. This is really important to understand. Over the past 20 years, the S&P 500, according to this article, has produced a 9.2% annualized total return. Not bad. Over the same period, gold has returned an annualized 6.6% return. And bonds, the Barclays U.S. Aggregate Bond Index has returned 5.7%. Not too shabby. Based on these figures, what type of return do you think you had? Or the average investor? Are you average? Are you better than average? How did you fare? Do you know your 20-year numbers? Do you know your 15-year numbers? Or are you just looking at the last 6 months or the last year? Well, the answer to this question, the quantitative analysis from Dalbar, a financial market research firm, shows that the average investor has realized a measly 2.5% return over the past 20 years. That's just over 0.2. That's just 0.2% per year above inflation. That's not good. So we need to be careful in trying to time the market. It just appears that the research does not support it. So move at your own peril. If it's working for you, congratulations. Now, Jennifer, we are going to be having a seminar coming up on Social Security, and I know that's a hot topic as well, part of the planning that we do with our clients. Can you tell us how folks can RSVP for that?
Yeah, we actually have next week, we have Tuesday and Thursday at Gumbo's in Georgetown. Looks like we're pretty booked for that, but then our next one is at Mandola's in South Austin off William Cannon. It's Tuesday, April the 21st, and Thursday, April the 23rd. We'd love to see you, so definitely go and RSVP. You can call our toll-free number at 800-769-1614. Again, the toll-free number is 1-800-769-1614. You can also go to our website at fortwm.com. Go to our events section, and you can register there. Again, it is our next one will be at Mandola's in South Austin off William Cannon. That'll be Tuesday, April the 21st, and Thursday, April the 23rd. So again, we would love to see you. So please RSVP by calling the toll-free number at 1-800-769-1614.
I love Mandola's. My children are all over the raviolis. They eat them up. So good food. So we would love to see you there.
Yes.
And next week, oil production has surged to 25-year highs, making the U.S. the largest combined oil and gas producer in the world. With help from the federal government, could we get back to $1 per gallon gas, or was President Obama right when he said there's nothing he can do to influence prices at the pump? Next week, we'll talk with Dan Kish, Vice President of Policy at the Nonpartisan Institute for Energy Research in Washington, D.C. You won't want to miss this. You'll discover truths about how America's energy policy and oil prices are affecting your life. We just want to, again, thank Wes Moss, and for all of our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to us. We hope to have you back next time. And this is Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, Talk 1370.